If you like the sweet science, get ready to talk boxing on the Gloved Fist podcast with top boxing writers Frank LOTIERZO and Jack Hirsch. Frank, a former amateur boxer out of Philadelphia, writes for NY Fights and can be seen on the Boxing Channel. Jack, an amateur boxer who competed in the New York Golden Gloves, was a 6-term president of the Boxing Writers Association. And now, here's Frank LOTIERZO and Jack Hirsch.
And we're back. Welcome to Glove Fist. My name is Frank LOTIERZO, former writer, tried to be full-time observer, joined by former 6-term president of the Boxing Writers Association of America, Jack Hirsch. Jack, how are you tonight? We have a lot to talk about. We have a guest coming on. There were some fights over the weekend. There was actually a lot of boxing over the weekend. And until Sunday, I wasn't too happy with what I saw. Time's yours. Go.
I was happy with the quantity. Our guest is going to come on at approximately 7:40, 7:45. It's Keith Sullivan, the manager of Christian Pranga. The manager, Christian Pranga, he's going to talk to us about what happened in Saudi Arabia with his guy. You have to admit, Frank, there was a lot of quantity, a lot of action over the weekend. And there's even certain fights got lost in the shuffle that no one even is talking about that, will try to fit in. And I'll just give you a little snippet. Like even Demetrius Andrade returned to the ring after a few years. Okay. And that slipped completely under the radar.
Yes, it did.
But the big story, okay, is the heavyweight showdown that is projected to take place, and I know you're put off by it, and with good reason. Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua. They both got through their tune-ups. Fury a lot easier than Joshua. With Joshua, it looked hairy for a while, like he might actually lose the fight. In that first round when he went down twice, and you can argue that the ropes held him up from going down the third time, but when all is said and done, both guys emerged victorious, and that's the fight they're talking about because of the name recognition.
That's it, Jack. It's name recognition. To me, it's the equivalent of Ali that fought Berbick versus Frazier that fought Cummings.
No, it's bigger than that, Frank.
It's bigger than that, but as far as the skill level and quality, I think that's where we're at. Hey, Danny, what's up?
Yeah, they're not the fighters they were. First of all, okay, Fury started the weekend off, okay? And fighting in Thailand, it wasn't even televised. You could just see some highlights of it afterwards because Fury has a show, what is it, on Netflix or whatever, and he wants to save the full footage for that. And he's fighting a 46-year-old Mauricio Wach, and it just, I didn't like it. You know what it looked like to me, Frank? When baseball used to have those old-timers games, and the former great players would get out there, the pitcher would throw a lollipop, the batter would jog to first base a second. Occasionally, a batter would hit a home run, and the crowd would go crazy. But they were playing in slow motion. Fury reminds me of what the great marathon runner Frank Shorter said when he was past his peak. I can do the same workouts I used to do when I was younger. I just do them slower. Fury can fight exactly the same way he did in his prime, but he just is slower, Frank, much slower.
Jack, cover your ear, okay? He looked like a fat tub of shit, okay? The way he moves around and he bounces around. He had a guy in there that couldn't do nothing. He was a statue. Fury doesn't bother getting in shape. I know he's never going to be beautiful. He just looks slow, sloppy. His legs are going. He's got a half-assed jab. It's like he just is not a top guy anymore. He's been gone since he fought Ngannou. He's gone. He has nothing left.
He didn't train, Frank. I have to believe he trained hard for the
Jack,
match.
he trained. Yes, he went to the gym, he hit the bag, he sparred, he may have even ran a little bit, but you can't tell me his heart was in it, and that's the best he can be at 37. I don't buy that. I don't think he takes it serious.
He's a businessman now too with Fury, And you hear about fighters fighting for glory. And I'm not saying Fury doesn't have pride, that he'd like to get out of the business at the end and be regarded as one of the great heavyweight champions. But you get the feeling he's having this Joshua fight because of the money. The money's
That's all, Jack.
enormous.
That's all it is. It is a money grab. Does
But you
anybody look
get
at
the
Fury and think
feeling-
he was an all-time great? He's a great
But you-
fighter. I don't see that.
But well, Usyk derailed Fury as being an all-time great. Had Fury won both Usyk fights, we would be talking about him as a top 10 heavyweight of all time. We would. Had he won those two fights against Usyk, right? Even
But
if
Jack,
they were close decisions, but he
Jack,
he
but look at
didn't
it. But I know they're long in the tooth now. But as much as I think of Usyk and how good he was, and I think he's a great fighter. Look at his two best wins: No Chin Joshua and Fat Fury. There's two best wins.
Well,
I mean, is that all-time great right there?
We're talking about Fury here.
But I understand that. But I'm saying that you said that Usyk knocked Fury off his pedestal. Well, now when I look at Usyk and I think of his two best wins that weren't that long ago, he beat two flawed guys. One guy's never in shape, and the other guy can't take a punch.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I mean, it's easy to break down every opponent everyone fought and say that they're diminished. I mean, you can't have it both ways. I'm not.
But Jack, how many times does Fury look good?
Listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you can't put Terence Crawford in the same league as Sugar Ray Leonard because he beat a compromised Errol Spence who'd had the accidents, had been through the mill, the eye injury, the this, the that, and then he beat a Canelo past his prime. You could,
but Jack, he beat him, and there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and he demolished everybody else he fought, including Spence. And he's older than Spence. Spence might not have been in his prime, but nobody else is going to beat Spence like that.
But I don't want to start picking on Usyk here. The bottom line is Usyk did beat a good version of Fury. Fury was up for those fights. He beat him twice, reasonably close decisions, but Usyk won. Usyk beat a highly motivated Anthony Joshua when Joshua was younger.
But how good is Anthony Joshua? He couldn't beat Jack. Anthony Joshua is not as good as Frank Bruno. Okay, if Anthony Joshua would have fought Tyson twice and Witherspoon and Bone Crusher Smith and the guys that Bruno fought, he would have got killed. And like you said, we wait till everybody's career is over, then we look back and we reevaluate. I'm just saying this. I am not lowering or putting Usyk down. I'm just saying that right now his two signature wins don't look quite as good as they did. And what it does, it makes you go back and look. Tyson Fury looked really good against Vladimir Klitschko in 2015 or 16, and he looked good in the second Wilder fight. He's never looked like anything special before that, and he almost lost to a novice in Nagano 3 years ago.
Yeah, and you're going to have to take that into consideration rating him. But the Fury of now, I mean, I'm just tired of his act.
I am too.
Tired of listening to him. At least with Joshua, you get the feeling there's a level of sincerity in fighting.
Yes, I agree with that. I respect him much more.
Joshua, it's more than just business right now. He really wants to show how good he is. How much he has left, that's another question. But in attitude, I think Fury, he'll train hard for Joshua fight. Absolutely. He'll go.
Absolutely. I'm sure he will.
That's what he has to do. But the reason Fury's continuing isn't because he wants to prove so much he's the best, this and that.
No, he wants to milk the public.
Joshua also, you get the feeling it's just something he does internally. But in any event, I don't know what to make out of their fight. I'm going to tell you now, I don't have to wait. I'm going to pick Joshua to beat Fury when they fight. For the simple reason is I got to believe Joshua's not going to fold easily. As soon as Fury hits him, he's not going to fold over, even though after what we saw Saturday, can I say that with absolute confidence? No. He could fold against anyone. But if Joshua can stand up, reasonably, put it that way, and fight, Fury's a very inviting target for him. And the one thing Joshua has going for him, his offensive arsenal is still pretty darn good. He's very
He won't
flawed.
use it against Fury, Jack. He won't use it.
Fury will be hittable for Joshua. And
if he throws punches. He was afraid of Jake Paul, Jack. He was afraid of Jake Paul, okay? Fury is going to get in his head, mess with him. Fury's going to tie him up, push him around, taunt him, and Fury could land the uppercut that Prenga land. I'm sure Fury can land, and Fury enters. Jack, Fury goes into that fight with absolute belief that he's tougher than Joshua. All he's got to do is touch him and beat him. Joshua goes in that fight thinking he can win if he can catch him. Once Fury puts a little on Joshua, Joshua will be a statue and follow him around the ring and lose a decision. Now, that said, if Joshua won, it wouldn't surprise me because Fury has no legs, not much of his punch, and not much of an offensive arsenal. But at this point, Jack, I can't pick against anybody or can't pick Joshua against anybody that is relatively competent. The shots that dropped him this week, they were decent shots. They weren't great shots. As you said, he was hurt. The ropes held him up one time. And you know what, Jack? That's my question for Prenga's manager when he comes on. Because why did Prenga go to sleep in the second round and not go after him?
Well, I know Keith is a bit upset about that. Why Prenga kind of shut off, backed off, tried to box, and allowed.
Why would you do that and play tag with the guy that's faster and is better technically? I said that to Prenga before the fight. I said, if you go after him and let go, you have a good shot to get him out. And he did that, and then he stopped. Why?
Yeah, but consider this, okay? When we're evaluating Joshua here, according to Keith Sullivan, believe it or not, just dismiss it if you want, he feels his guy Prang is the hardest punch in the heavyweight division. So let's pretend his guy is this era's version, 2026 version of a young Ernie Shavers, who is very flawed. Ernie Shavers, the young version especially, okay? And if that's what Prenga is, if Prenga really is the hardest punch in the heavyweight division, all of a sudden Joshua doesn't look so bad. That uppercut that dropped him, he didn't see the punch.
No.
And then he was on the inside and wow, it hit him out of nowhere and it stunned him and he was down. And then Prenga did hurt him after, when he was, but he regrouped. The bottom line is, he did regroup very impressively in the second round.
But Jack, Prenga let him regroup. He was backing away from him in the second round like he was trying to counter him. Why? Joshua has a better jab. He has faster hands. And we know all he's going to try to do is set up that right hand. He let him off the hook. He was beautiful in the first round. That's what you do with Anthony Joshua. And I wouldn't be surprised if Fury tries to rush him early and hurt him and maybe do the same thing. And then if Joshua survives, he'll box him. I love Joshua's heart. I'm tired of his act. He can be hurt easily. He's never been the same since Ruiz stopped him. And I don't know what went wrong and what the fix is. There isn't a fix, but he showed hard against Klitschko, Jack, who's the hardest puncher he ever fought. He got up. He was hurt. He fought through it. And Klitschko kind of let him off the hook a little bit too, but I'm going to give him credit. I mean, at that time I said he did something that Tyson or Lennox Lewis never did, and that was get off the deck to win a fight. And Joshua did that. But with Ruiz, I don't know what happened after that, but he's not the same guy, and we've seen it too many times. So Dubois knocked him all around. He's supposed to be a big puncher. Prenga has all knockouts. We don't know any of the guys he really stopped, but he showed against Joshua he does have some power. So anybody that hits Joshua clean seems to get him.
Yeah, Prenga fought a bunch of mediocre guys. Watching him on tape, he looked so. But when the one fight Prenga lost was early in his career, so let's dismiss that. And all 20 guys we beat, he stopped. So you have to feel, some powers there. Was a question of how much.
Look, I don't care who you're fighting. If you stop 20 guys straight, I mean, they are getting paid to get in there. They're not coming in there to lose. The kid has power. I'll give him that. I'm just so mad at how the way he fought the second round.
Well, where does he go from? We know where Josh was going to Fury. If by some chance the Fury fight falls apart, you know what I think would be next for Josh when I find this totally distasteful? It would be a rubber match with Andy Ruiz, because Andy Ruiz just signed with Matchroom Boxing, and he's fighting early September at the Prudential Center.
Andrew Ruiz will put Joshua will look like he's wearing a cape the way he'll fly out of the ring.
And no, Andy Ruiz, forget about it. I don't even want to, with Andy.
Well, you just said they might fight, Jack. I'm telling you, if they fight, Andy Ruiz knocks him out.
I think you're too down on Joshua. I think you got to give him credit the way he came back Saturday.
Jack, he came back because the other guy let him. He didn't have any resistance after the first round. Did you see how Prank was backing away and Joshua was feeding that left jab in his face, setting up the right hand? Prank didn't do nothing. It's like he almost froze.
But Joshua could have gone conservative in the second round, killed time. But the way he fought back, he showed us a lot. Keep it this
way. Look, I'm not going to say he doesn't have heart. I just don't think he has a chin. He has heart. They're two different things. He has heart. He just doesn't take a punch anymore. And Jack, I can never get past the stench of him carrying Jake Paul before he threw a punch for 7 rounds. He was worried about getting hit. And I'm never 6 rounds. I'm never confident on a guy who worries about getting hit before they do hitting.
Paul,
I'm sorry.
Jake Paul was running around the ring the whole time, and Joshua was biding his time. Listen, what was more impressive? Joshua stopping Jake Paul in 6 rounds, of Fury eking out a decision over Nagano. Come on. And if I want to play the comparison game, look what Joshua did to Nagano. He took care of business ruthlessly.
But we know that Styles, Jack. We know that Styles.
Fury. And
Fury doesn't knock anybody good out.
What about Fury's chin going down against Nagano? Okay, I can.
But I don't think he was hurt, Jack. I think he was knocked off balance, and the guy's strength and weight pushed him down. I don't think he was hurt. I never got the sense that he was in trouble and going to go.
And he hasn't really. And I've seen Fury in trouble in other fights. Otto Wallen actually lost the fight last night at MSG. And Otto Wallen, when he fought Fury a while back, people forget he cut Fury badly to the point where the fight could have been stopped. But in the last round, he was battering Fury in the corner, beating him up. And Fury was stopped by Steve Cunningham, who was a blown-up heavyweight, a really cruiserweight. Knocked Fury flat on his back.
So thanks for making my case. Those 2 Usyk wins over him don't look as great now, do they? You just made the case better than I did. Usyk beating him twice doesn't look so big now after what you just said about Fury.
Some wins age better than others. When Joe Calzaghe beat Jeff Lacey, we thought it was a legendary performance by Calzaghe. But then Lacey didn't do a thing afterwards, and now people dismiss it as an overrated win.
But maybe Calzaghe took it out of Lacey and was never the same. Like Hagler with Mugabe, and whatever Spence had left, Crawford clearly took that away.
Maybe, and the layoff as well. Speaking of that, Errol Spence, made his return to the ring, lost to Tim Tszyu. Rather than talk negative, kudos to Tim Tszyu under his new trainer, Jeff Fennick. And I think Jeff Fennick is a fabulous trainer. I really do. Tim Tszyu's improved. Sometimes fighters do improve and they become close to the fighter you originally thought they'd be. But at some point they lose their way, but then they kind of get it back. And I think this was a focused Tim Tszyu. Now, it's easy to say Errol Spence hadn't fought in 3 years since losing to Crawford, hadn't won a fight in 4 years. But look, Errol Spence wasn't a pushover, even though he wasn't the same Errol Spence, obviously. Tim Tszyu was focused, fought hard. Nice victory for Tim Tszyu.
Earl Spence looked like Sugar Ray Leonard who fought Terry Norris. He had no balance, no legs. Like Tim Bradley said, he looked a little top heavy. He just, no reflexes. He just didn't look good. Jack, to me, the surprise of that fight was that Spence went the distance. And I'm glad he didn't get hurt. I'm glad he retired. He had a great career. There will be talk about him as far as the International Boxing Hall of Fame. I don't know if he makes the cut. I'd have to think about that. But I'm glad he didn't get hurt, but he has nothing left, and we knew that.
I gotta cut in. Frank, you're missing the point, and you repeated the same thing twice. You're glad he didn't get hurt. How do you know he didn't get hurt, Frank?
Well, I mean, visibly.
No. Physically, you have these
visibly, not physically, visibly.
Visibly, yeah. Oh, yeah, no. Visibly, he's going to be fine for a while. But I'm going to tell you, if you listen to Errol Spence talk, he sounds to me about 90% of how he did when he was younger. Something is.
I don't think he ever sounded good when he spoke, Jack. He always sounded like he was half asleep.
Maybe not, but when you get hit with all these shots he got hit with, this could take its toll 10, 20, 30 years from now.
We'll see down the road.
I mean,
but I thought it could have been a lot worse than it was. He was a little more competitive than I thought he would be. And he held up under some good shots.
But that's it. He got hit a lot of hard, jolting shots. And Dr. Pacheco once told me there's a toll to pay for that. Do you pay the toll late on? It's like a credit card. You have to eventually pay the bill late on.
But Jack, they all come out of it like that. They all come out of it like that.
It doesn't have to be that way if you draw the line. Andre Ward, we thought retired a little sooner than he could have, right? It was a surprise. But I think Andre Ward smartly drew the line, and he's on the better side of the line.
And Calzaghe got out at the right time, too. He didn't take any beating.
Yeah, well, you hope, whatever. But it's sparring in the gym, too. It doesn't mean they take beatings. I mean, certain fighters, you look at their fights and it's hard to pinpoint where they got beat up. But if they're in the gym getting hit a lot, and sometimes it's just one fight, like De La Hoya against Manny Pacquiao, that one fight, all those head-snapping punches. I hope Oscar's going to be okay later on.
How about Pacquiao against Ugas? He looked terrible in that fight and took a ton of punches.
Exactly, over a long period of time. It's what could I say? But Spence, I'm glad he's retiring, and I believe it's going to stick.
I believe that too.
As far as Spence being a Hall of Famer, yeah, I think you have to put him in when you look at the guys he beat. I mean, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, fighters like that.
Kell Brook.
I mean, he had a lot.
He had some really good wins. He does.
Some really good, yeah.
And he made like 8 defenses. He had some good wins. I mean, look, I think if Timothy Bradley's in, I think Spence should be in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could debate who had a greater career, Bradley or Spence. And I would think at Spence's very best, he would be considered better than Bradley at his best.
He would beat Bradley if they fought at the best. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
but Jack, overall though, you think it was a good weekend. I don't. We saw 2 washed up guys fight a main event. They ripped us off for Joshua was pay-per-view. We couldn't see Fury, and I'm glad that we really didn't see it. I'm glad I pirated it. But it's like the sport, the model's terrible. They don't build any of these guys up. They don't fight. And we have guys like Joshua and Fury who are so far past their best days, and they're still headliners, and they're still getting paid a lot of money. And at that, Jack, I'm not even sure they'll fight. It's like I could see something else coming up. This fight's been talked about for so long. Like I said in my post, I have as much interest in those 2 fighting as I do watching Bewitched fight I Dream of Jeannie.
No, you know what it is, Frank? It's going to be on Netflix. And most people have Netflix isn't, to my knowledge, a pay-per-view option. You have to subscribe to Netflix. Either you have it or you don't. Do you have Netflix?
Yes.
So you could just go to Netflix. You can easily get the fight. And when you can easily get a fight, you become more interested. It's not pay-per-view anymore for you.
Jack, I'll watch it for entertainment and to see what happens, but do I want to see it or
Frank,
care about it? And does it mean anything? To me, it doesn't.
yeah, but if you compare Joshua and Fury, what they accomplished compared to Ryan Garcia, you'll agree they've accomplished more than a Ryan Garcia. Or
And you know how I feel about Ryan Garcia. Yeah, you're right. They have accomplished more than him. And you know my love for him.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, it's the brand. That's what attracts people. And of course, you want to fight where there's a question of who's going to win. Now, both Fury and Joshua diminished, but we have a difference of opinion who's going to win the fight. So that alone makes it somewhat interesting.
But Jack, what is it other than they'll both get paid a lot of money? And I understand, and I hope it's true that Earl Spence got $9 million for the Zoo fight. I hope that's true, because maybe if he's lucky, he walks away with $3.5 million, $4 million. But what does it prove? If Joshua and Fury, if they fight, forget about who wins. What does it mean? It was just a money grab for them and a night out for people that go to the fight and something for us to do that night. What does it mean?
It doesn't mean much.
What's the significance of it?
It doesn't mean much. The only thing I could think of, if Joshua wins and looks great, let's say he knocks Fury out, he might be it already, but he becomes really a superstar in the UK. He becomes as famous as any great soccer player, like David Beckham or whatever, okay?
Just by beating Fury, who's 37.
Knocking Fury out. Yeah, because it's the name value, everything. Now, if they match him with Moses Utama would beat him, I feel. Don't get me wrong. I'm not debating that point. But Moses Utama, the future of the division, now you got another super fight that, at least in the UK.
A super fight that will be a massacre if that happens.
Getting off that, we're going to revisit, Joshua because of Christian Pranga, later when Keith Sullivan comes on. I just want to quickly go over the other fights. Demetrius Andrade returned to the ring. Friday night, he fought in Connecticut under Jimmy Birchfield. Really good.
I didn't even know he fought, Jack.
Exactly. It was on
another great example how the sport is run and how it's promoted.
I caught it on the zone. I caught the replay. I didn't want to stay up late, but Andrade won in the first round. He looked good, actually, Frank. He really looked good. I mean, normally in the guy's 30.
What weight did he fight at?
Super middle.
He can still make super middle. I'm impressed.
Yeah. So the thing is with Andrade, I know his age. I know how long he's been off. But, once in a while, a guy, he beats gravity in a sense. And I think Andrade is still good. But the question is, who might he fight? You know who I'd like to see Andrade fight? And this will give us an answer how good he is. A super middleweight. Why not him and Edgar Berlanga? Berlanga got a nice win over Stephen Butler. Kudos to Berlanga. I've been hard on him. I even went so far as to say
I watched that card, Jack, and fell asleep.
No. But the guy he beat.
I missed his fight. I fell asleep. I woke up. It was over.
But the guy Stephen Butler, who he beat, is no more than a gatekeeper, not a strong gatekeeper. A lower level gatekeeper, not bad. Stephen Butler's not bad, but you could argue that in the super middleweight division, Stephen Butler's top 25. Okay, you can make that point. Maybe top 20, maybe 19, whatever. I don't know. But Berlanga won. Hard fought stoppage, tough fight for Berlanga, but he came through. A decent win. So it keeps Berlanga in the picture for something. That's why I'd love to see him fight a guy like Demetrius Andrade. Because if
that would be a good fight.
If Berlanga beat him, kudos to Berlanga. Now I wouldn't object to him having a fight against a really big name. I would have feel, he kind of earned it.
He would have earned it. He would have earned it. Yes, he would have earned it.
But if he can't beat Demetrius Andrade, this version 36, who's been off a while, it shows us he's just a plain guy at the end of the day.
And
Because yeah, he went
notice
the
how
distance with Canelo.
your buddy Dana White is doing it right, putting these fights on Paramount. That was on Paramount last night,
I
and
don't
he
have
came on.
Paramount.
What's that?
I don't have Paramount.
Okay, it was on. Well, that's another
A lot of
subscription.
us,
It
you
was
have
on
to
Paramount.
subscribe to it.
Yep. Now the only thing is, Jack, I had a
How's he
long
doing it
weekend
right?
and I fell asleep.
How is Dana White doing it right if you have to subscribe to Paramount? And I'm not a subscriber, and I'm
It's
not going
just
to
like
subscribe to
it's just
for
not.
those
It's
things.
just like Netflix, though, Jack. Paramount has other things too, and plus they have the UFC on there. But it was
Right.
8 o'clock. It was a good. It was a good hour that started. It was a decent card. The only, and again, I can't complain about 8 o'clock. It's just that I was at the shore all weekend and was up a little later than I should have been. And by last night, by 9 o'clock, I just nodded out.
Well, Dana White, I will give him credit for this. He moves his shows along much better than the other boxing promoters. The crowd isn't hanging
He's going to be a
around
factor, Jack.
45 minutes between fights.
Right, that's a joke.
So I give Dana White credit for that. But I know also we're reporting, I didn't apply for credentials last night. Going through Dana White is a pain in the butt. Chances are you can't get in touch with anyone. They don't get back to you, and you don't wind up getting credentialed, as opposed to Eddie Hearn, who I know myself, I'm treated like royalty, with Matchroom Boxing. So I'm partial to Matchroom in their battle with Eddie Hearn with Dana White, because Dana White, as much of a visionary as he is, I perceive him as a bit of a bully.
He is, no doubt about it. He's a narcissist. There's no doubt about it. They all are, but he is. He's one of the better ones.
Yeah, no, but listen,
at being a narcissist.
But I give him credit if you end the show early enough. I don't know what time it ended yesterday. Whether it ended.
I can't tell you, Jack, because I fell asleep.
Right, okay, but if they ended at a reasonable time, if he has that type of vision, the UFC shows, what time do they end normally?
It all depends. The last one, well, no, the Conor McGregor one didn't. I mean, that fight did not start until 1:15. That was over in a minute.
There you go. What happened to me? You know what happened? I put Saturday aside the whole day for boxing. There were fights on the undercard that I want to talk about with Joshua Pranger, but so I'm looking forward to the Spence Sue fight, the brand, the names. It was intriguing to me, and I'm planning to stay up for that. But then I hear that Stephen Fulton was 6 1/2 pounds over the weight limit against Liam Wilson, which is a disgrace. 6 1/2 pounds, Frank. We're not talking about 1.5 pounds.
Nope.
6 1/2 pounds.
It shows you it's a mindset and an attitude.
They cancel that fight. Now I'm down to only one fight I want to see.
Was Charlo supposed to be on that undercard?
They pulled him out. He couldn't get his visa.
He couldn't get a visa.
The only fight of interest to me was Spence Sue. It's 11:15. There's a fight going on, and there's supposed to be another fight before the main event. And I said, Jack, you must be out of your bleeping mind to stay up for this. I went to sleep. I said, I'm going to catch the replay and screw this. And I got up in the morning and I caught a replay that showed me, about 8-9 minutes of highlights. And I saw all I needed to see. It wasn't a close decision where I had to go back and score it. It wasn't that type. And even though
a couple of my friends saw, and they had a little bit closer than the judges had it.
116, 112, 117, 111. But regardless, it wasn't controversial where you had to go back and look to see who won the fight, who didn't. And I saw Spence get hit an alarming amount of times. It made me kind of wince. But, and then Sunday, okay, but on the undercard, okay, this is a little bit of interest to you, too, because we talk about Boots Innes. Okay, so Josh Kelly defends his IBF junior middleweight title against the guy from Belfast. I'm looking at this because I have a hard time reading his name, let alone pronouncing it. Kaimin Agayako. Okay, If a Gayako would have won, he would have been the first black fighter from Belfast Island to hold a world title. So he would have made history in Belfast. But Kelly, I scored that fight. Kelly wins a tight decision. I had him winning 115. Well, they had a point taken away. So I had Kelly up 114, 113. One of the judges had it the way I did. Two other judges had it 115, 112. The scoring was fair. Kelly's face is a mess. He pulls out the fight at the end, barely gets by. Eddie Hearn is in the ring. Eddie Hearn wants to match with Boots Ennis. And Eddie Hearn is a slickster the way he talks. And I mean that as complimentary as well as a put down. But Eddie Hearn is saying, well, Josh Kelly knows he might have to roll the dice. He could get 3 times the amount of money with Boots, come to the U.S., take that gamble to be great. Do you know what Boots is going to do to Josh Kelly?
I mean, I've seen Josh Kelly fight. It's not pretty.
If Boots and the Sons to fight him, I'll let Boots know we're going to have a warrant out for your arrest if you hurt him. We're warning you now. A warrant.
That fight won't happen. No, I don't think that fight will happen.
I mean, he will. Let me tell you why. Because Eddie Hearn wants to have Boots' next fight in Philadelphia. And Kelly holds a belt. That's the selling point. Oh,
so that's how we look at fights. Exactly. Can we sell it?
3 belts are on the line. Ennis is 2. Josh Kelly's 1. Kelly will talk a good game. White boy coming into Philadelphia. He's going to badmouth Boots. He's going to stir things up. Boots will come back at Kelly. The trash talk's going to begin. Eddie Hearn will get the mic saying Josh Kelly knows this could change his life. Rest assured, he has no fear at all of Boots Ennis. None at all. And
that'll get him beat up pretty good.
And I could see Frank LOTIERZO maybe applying for credentials.
All depends if it's close. If it's at one of the arenas here, I might go to it.
Yeah. Okay. So.
But Stephen Fulton not making weight and missing it by that much, that's a disgrace. That's a disgrace.
Yeah, and also on that card in Saudi Arabia, Hamza Shariz
won a decision.
Shiraz, right, he wins a decision. But what gets me about Shiraz, he fights a couple of fights ago before that. He looked stale fighting to a draw against Carlos Adames. Most people thought Adames won the fight. Okay, then he destroys Edgar Berlanga. He looks like a monster. He beats Berlanga up all fight and then knocks him out in the 5th round. And now he wins the decision and never hurts second Heiber, the German, never hurts him. So how good is he then? I mean, and how good is Berlanga? Berlanga is the one fighter who gets destroyed by this guy. But the other guys don't get destroyed by him, even hurt.
I don't know, Jack. I don't know. But I haven't seen a lot. I haven't seen a lot of Shiraz since the fight against Adames.
Yeah, our producer's going to let us know when Keith Sullivan comes on. He's due to come on 7:45. So Brian, when Keith comes on, just bring him up, immediately into the studio. And Richardson Hitchens won his fight. 2. Hitchens is a good fighter, pretty good fighter. There's a difference between elite and not. I'm going to tell you one fight that intrigues me if they make it, and they're talking about it. I'm excited about it. Devin Haney against Keyshawn Davis.
That would be a good fight.
That's a heck of a fight. That's a fight either guy can win.
What weight would that be at, Jack? 47 or 40?
Oh boy, I would.
If it's 47, I like Haney a lot. If it's 40, that's a little bit of a push.
Why do you like him at that weight more?
I just think Haney is weakened if he's below 147. I think he's the way he's grown and filled out. I think he's a legit 147-pound guy, and I think if he has to come down, I think he'll be a little compromised, and that would give Keyshawn a little bit better shot.
Well, let me get something to say. Raleigh Romero, correct me if I'm wrong. He holds a 140-pound belt, correct?
He's fighting at 147, isn't he?
He doesn't have a welterweight title. Romero's fighting Teofimo Lopez, in the middle of next month, in about
That's
3
right,
weeks.
140. Okay, right.
140. Teofimo has had trouble making the weight for a while. I feel like asking his dad, why are you messing around with the weight?
Because he can't be, because at 47, Jack, I don't think he's a factor.
He should be. But why
not against the elite guys.
But what elite guys at 147, really? What elite?
You got a point there. His style. I just never thought he would move up to 47 and be a factor. He was good at 35 because he could muscle guys and overpower them. I just think when he goes up in weight, he can't do that. And he couldn't even get to Stevenson. Well, I shouldn't put him down there. That's a big ass.
Stevenson's a great fighter.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know what I like about that fight, in a sense? Teofimo took a chance. He didn't duck Stevenson like the other guys.
I give him total credit for it.
He's in a big fight. He's in a big fight. His next fight, a meaningful fight against Rolly Romero. And Romero, no matter what you think of him overall in his career, let's not forget he beat Ryan Garcia decisively.
Yep. He's also a brown belt in judo. Did you know that?
Yeah. No, I didn't know that.
Did you see the sparring session where he was sparring and the guy headbutted him and he flipped him?
Could you imagine doing that during a fight?
Well, if he got headbutted, he might. But and I saw it. His technique was really good. It's like he's a legit brown belt.
Yeah.
Doesn't help in boxing, but I'm just saying it was interesting to see with gloves on. He did what's called a Koshi-Garuma around the neck, and he threw the guy, and it was really good technique.
It could be intimidating to an opponent if he knows the guy facing him. If he gets angry enough, he'll say, "Screw it, I'm going to break your arm." Okay, let's bring Keith Sullivan if he's ready to come on, because it's with 7:45. We'll get him on here. Hey, Keith, how you doing?
Hi, Keith.
Back from Saudi Arabia, Keith Sullivan, the manager, Christian Pranga. We talked about Christian before, early in the show. And, Frank LOTIERZO is a little ticked off at the way Christian fought. Frank feels he let his best opportunity get away. You express it to Keith, Frank.
Look, we knew before the fight what he did in the first round is what he had to do. What I didn't like was in the second round, he backed away from Joshua and gave him room. And it was like there was no way he was going to beat him playing tag. Joshua's faster hands, that long jab that he was pushing his face. And I just think what he gained in the first round, Keith, he totally gave up in the second.
Well, first, let me just thank you both for having me on the show. I do appreciate it and giving Christian the opportunity to have access to this platform. So thank you for that. Frank, we talked several months ago when I first signed this contract for this fight, and we both agreed that aggression, forward, stepping forward, heavy artillery, excessive pumping of the jab was the key to victory and to make AJ feel uncomfortable. And we executed that beautifully in round one. Couldn't have gone any better. It got to the point where Christian felt in his head that he had AJ's number and he could end this fight at any time. That's the sliver of daylight. That's the sliver of the crack in the door that AJ needed to blow the door wide open and dominate the fight. That's what you saw there was the difference between skilled, experienced fighter. Keep in mind, he knocked the guy on his ass 3 times. And I say 3 times because when he went back against those ropes in between the 2 knockdowns they counted.
We talked about that.
That should have been counted as a knockdown. So he took a guy who was a 2-time Olympian, a gold medalist, a 3-time world champion, one of the most experienced fighters there are. If you watch the press conference, I referenced AJ as a boxing god, and that's what he was. Christian Pranga has none of the experience that AJ has. Not in the amateurs, not in the pro ranks. So for him to do what he did in round one was just unbelievable. Now let me explain to you what happened in round two. And I didn't want to get into this explanation, but I had to, because Simon on TalkSport, very popular show over in England, started a conspiracy theory, and then Paulie Malignaggi jumped on it, and several
I
others
heard
did.
about it, right. I hate when they do that.
So we didn't want it left out there, the remote possibility that KP took a fall. First of all, it's ludicrous on his face, because to believe that, you have to believe that AJ got knocked down three times in the first round, but this was all a setup. This was a hoax. You wouldn't play it out that way. One of the conspiracy theories said that Turkey al-Sheikh came ringside to our corner and offered us money and threatened KP's family if he didn't take a dive. Turkey al-Sheikh wasn't even in Jeddah. He wasn't even in Saudi Arabia. He was in New York City. He's here today as we speak. So that's total nonsense. What happened in round 2 was KP got off the stool and he was completely gassed. He had nothing left. So he said, I have AJ's number. I can take him out when I need to. Let me just take this round a little slow, preserve my energy, and really go after him in the 3rd round. Why was he gassed? 3 weeks before the fight, he stopped training. He was over in Dubai. He got very ill. We had a doctor come in and draw blood to test him to see if there was something more than just a flu or a cold or whatever it was he was battling. And they assured us that it was just a bad flu. He was in bed for 8 days. We had a sparring partner over there. We sent him home. We didn't use him for the 3 weeks leading up to the fight. So the lack of cardio, the lack of conditioning, the lack of training the 3 weeks before the fight caught up to him. Now, he only was able to fight the fight because he's a heavyweight, so you don't have to lose weight. If he was losing weight and going down, he never would have been able to do that in the physical condition he was in and the lack of training that he had in those 3 weeks. The week before the fight, he arrived in Jeddah and he started to do some training and conditioning, but sparring, we were past sparring, so he missed the final 2 weeks of sparring. And he spent 8 days in bed where he couldn't even get out of bed and walk. We went ahead with the fight because it was a life-changing opportunity, but he said he stood up on the stool and it was like he was back in that bed again. He had nothing. He had no energy. Now, I hate to even discuss this because we made a promise that we weren't going to talk about this. But once the conspiracy theories came out, I spoke to KP this morning. I said, look, it's 2 different fights. It's what you did in round 1 and then you were gone in round 2. I said, so we have to explain this because this conspiracy theory is going to have legs. So he said, okay, you can explain to them that I was gassed out and I had no energy and it wasn't because of lack of training. It was quite the opposite. I was sick and I was incapable of training. And, he thought in his mind that he was in control of the fight and he underestimated AJ's ability to just monopolize on that moment of weakness that he showed. And he said once those punches started coming, and that goes to the technique and the skill and the talent of AJ. He said once those punches started coming, they were coming fast, they were coming hard. And he said, I just couldn't keep up and I couldn't get out of the way. And I couldn't get my offense going again. And he backed into that corner the last, I think, 30 seconds of the round and it ended,
My only issue is with what you said is this. If he got up for the 2nd round and he was gassed, to me, I'm thinking the last thing I want is a long fight. I had this guy hurt. I can hurt him. I'm going to go out now, balls to the wall, and take him out now because I know I can't go rounds.
I agree with you, Frank, but I can only tell you what his mindset was in the moment.
I understand that.
It was, I don't have it in me right now to do what I just did for the past 3 minutes. So let me preserve my energy and I'll regain, it's like you're taking a breather. You're taking a breather.
Yeah, I understand that.
You're thinking
look, it's easy for us to say because we weren't in there. But it just, to me, I'm thinking if I'm dead tired and I got this guy hurt and he can be hurt by me, I'm going to let it go now. I'm going to cut loose now while I still have something. Because whatever I have now, in the next round, I'm going to have even less. And then he'll get brave and confident. And that's exactly what happened in the second round. He got brave.
He made a tactical error. There's no question about it. And he regrets it. And that's the other thing, the conspiracy theory, like, I don't know if you saw the interview in the locker room, like how genuinely upset he was.
Oh, I saw, yeah. Those guys are morons that say it took a dive or got paid.
Give Anthony Joshua a lot of credit for how he spoke about Christian Prenga after the fight.
He said he has power.
He didn't deny being hurt, anything like that. He immediately after the fight, he said to Eddie Hearn, sign him up, Eddie. You know?
Yeah. I want to address that. I want to address that as well. But to your point, Jack, I just want to jump on that and say AJ could not have been more gracious at the press conference.
He's a good guy.
He is. At the press conference, you know, after the stare down, he grabbed Christian Prenga. The Albanian flag is a double eagle, so they do this hand gesture with their hands, the double eagle.
Yeah.
After the stare down, AJ grabbed Christian's hand, and we all sort of kind of flinched, like, what's he doing? And then we realized he was making a joint double eagle with his hand and Christian's. And I grabbed him afterwards. I said, that was a class move. You didn't have to do that. That shows a lot of class. In the ring after the fight, I whispered to AJ because AJ, Christian's father, wears a very traditional, funny-looking hat, you know, not to be insulting, but an Albanian cultural hat. And his uncle was there wearing one as well. And AJ kind of looked at them, and I said, that's Christian's father, his mother, and his uncle entering the ring. He went right over and was thanking them and talking to them, and, you know, his language barrier there, but he's just a real gracious guy in victory, and he couldn't have said enough nice things.
And defeat, too.
You know, I thought of something also. You've been around a lot of big fights when you were involved with the New York State Athletic Commission. But this is your first mega fight as a manager. This was the biggest thing. I mean, what did you take away from it, like, personally yourself? I mean, it's unlike any, you know, what other fights you've been involved with as a manager.
You know, it's interesting that you raised that point, Jack, because I thought about that, but it wasn't until after the fact. I really wasn't impressed or blown away. Like, I was impressed with it, but I wasn't in awe because, as you mentioned, I was a commissioner for the New York State Athletic Commission for 5 years. So I've stood in the ring as a regulator of the sport on countless occasions. You know, probably over 200 times, and many of those fights were mega big fights in the Barclays Center in Madison Square Garden, the big room. So I felt like I'd been there before. I was just wearing a different hat this particular night. But I will say, when Michael Buffer walked over to me at the start of the AJ's ring walk to remind me that there's going to be 3 national anthems, and I looked up and the Saudi Arabian green flag was on all the TVs and everywhere. I kind of had a surreal moment. I was like, wow, it kind of hit me like, wow, this is really big as a manager to be here on this stage. But I went right back into focusing on the fighter. When I walk a fighter into a venue, you know, I try to remember to put a smile on my face, but in my head and my heart, I'm pretty stone-faced because I feel and take on the persona like I'm walking a gladiator into the Roman Colosseum. Now, I know that sounds dramatic, but that's the mindset I put myself into because I have a lot of fear when I walk a fighter into a ring. A tremendous fear, whether it's a club show or a mega show like this, that they're going to come out of that unharmed. It's a big fear of mine. I pray in the ring. I pray during the fight. And I pray there, say a prayer of thanks after the fight, because none of my fighters have been hurt. But we've seen real tragedies in this sport, and it's a fine line between those who walk away unscathed and those who end up dead or in a coma or damaged. And so I take that role very, very seriously.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question then, Frank. You could go right after this. As an attorney, you've had people on the witness stand, and I'm sure you've asked them a question and told them either yes or no. So I'm going to put you on the stand. Yes or no. Is Christian Prenga the hardest puncher in the heavyweight division?
No.
No. Oh,
he's
wow.
Not. He's not. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because to be the hardest puncher in the division, you have to be able to do it in the fluidity and in the live action of a fight.
You have to be able to deliver it.
And he doesn't have the experience to do that yet. If you watched him warm up and hit pads, I would say yes.
Mm.
When he hits the pads with his right hand or a left hook, bone chilling, I've been around. I've been in Klitschko's locker room when he's warmed up. I've been in Tyson Fury's. When Christian Pranga worked the pads, it is bone chilling. The snap, the pop, the way it cracks. He's not able to execute that efficiently in the ring because he doesn't have the experience that many of these other fighters do. So that's why I say no. But I think he can get there, and I think if with the right training and the right camps, I think he can get there in time. He doesn't have the experience. These guys get into the pros. I don't know how many fights AJ had as an amateur, but I'm sure he had over 100. Tyson Fury, same thing. A lot of these guys have just tremendous amateur experience before they ever touch the pros. He was a kickboxer. He went into the pros as a professional boxer. So, and not many of his fights go more than 1 or 2 rounds. He doesn't have a lot of ring experience. So I think
Keith, I'll bet you this. You should get a take on this too. Get a piece of the pie. When Tyson Fury fights Joshua, he's going to come out hard and try to get him in the first round. If he doesn't get him, he'll back off and he'll box. But after what he saw with KP, okay, and what's in Joshua's head, I think Fury's going to try to sneak him in the first round and see if he can just get into his head, hurt him, shake him, and maybe get him out of there. If not, then he'll box and he'll do his typical thing after that. But I would not be surprised if he comes right out when he thinks AJ is a little bit unsure of himself and tries to pop him.
And if you connect on AJ, his legs become very weak. You saw that the other night. And Frank, I give you credit. Like you called it 3 months ago when we met back in May or April when you had me on. You said this has to be the game plan. And if he executes it this way, he's going to win. And he did that for the first round, and he did better than I could have expected or hoped for. Unfortunately, he didn't carry that through to round 2. He made a tactical error that I think if he had enough experience, he wouldn't have done that. He would have approached it the way your mindset is and my mindset is which is, hey, I'm running thin on gas here. I better turn it on now while I still got something left in the tank. He thought he could kind of regenerate a little bit.
Let's face it, in that moment, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure, and you don't want to make a mistake. I mean, if you've been in there, I've never been in there at that level. I don't think any one of us have. But but in that moment, we think, okay, I got him. I think I can take him. Let me not rush in and make a mistake. It's easy to Monday morning quarterback. But I'm just thinking, again, I am not going to get stronger as this fight gets longer.
Yeah, and just that alone, like what Jack touched on about being on the mega stage. I had been there as a regulator of the sport through the commission many times. Christian had never been there. I don't know if he's ever been to a mega fight before. It's sitting ringside. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
This was going from the JV soccer team to the Premier League.
Keith, we only have a couple of minutes. What's next for Pranga?
So that's an interesting question. What's next is he is a free agent. I just want to be clear about that. Wow. I know AJ and Hearn made comments about he's signed or they're going to exercise options. He's not signed to Matchroom, and Matchroom has no options. The only options I gave Matchroom in the contract after we kind of passed it back and forth and negotiated it out was if KP won the fight, Hearn had the option for a rematch, and he also had the option for an interim fight before the rematch. Those were the only options he had. KP didn't win the fight. Hearn has no options. So I've spoken to Queensberry today. I've spoken to Matchroom. I've got a call I haven't spoken with, but I've got some calls with Zuffa. We're going to play it by ear. There's a promoter from Albania that reached out to me that said we'd like to do a show with him in Albania, which I think that would be a nice feather in his cap to go back to his home country and put on a show there. Nice. So, my main thing after a fight is the physicality of the fighter. Is he healthy? Is he well? And I checked in with him today, and I'll check in with him again tonight. No headaches, no nausea, no dizziness, no blurry vision, no loss of balance, no vomiting. As long as we go 72 hours without any of those types of symptoms, then I'll start thinking about what's next. But right now we're still within that window for another day. I get the all clear by tomorrow. Then I'm going to have definitive conversations with people.
Keep them busy and get the ring work in.
We're pretty much coming to an end. Thanks for coming on. We know you just got back from Saudi Arabia. We really appreciate you taking the time, Keith, coming on here on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me.
Okay.
Thanks, Keith.
We'll see you.
Thanks. Take care.
Look forward to seeing you down the road.
Thanks. Okay. Bye-bye.
Pretty much it. Okay, Frank. A nice episode then. It's nice to see that Christian Frank is going to have options. He's a free agent.
That's good.
I didn't realize that. And he's going to be in demand. Someone's going to want to sign him, and we'll see going forward.
Now we know what happened, and all those rumors can be put to rest.
Right, exactly. Okay, till next week, Frank.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.